Okay, good afternoon. It's great to have both of you here today, talking about your experiences in the Warren Township Schools. Alexis Slack and Val Nelson are Governor's Educator of the Year award recipients for Warren Middle School. Before I even get into that, I just want to say congratulations, because it is quite an honor for your colleagues, your students, parents, administrators to all see in both of you really wonderful things, which I think is always a nice honor, but especially during the challenges of the last couple of years, to be recognized for that. So well deserved for both of you. Congratulations. And thanks for chatting for a couple minutes today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Mrs. Slack, would you start us off introducing yourself and your history in the school district?
Sure. Hi, my name is Alexis Slack, and I've been a teacher at Warren Middle School since September of 2000. I've taught various subjects such as reading, Spanish, drama, and language arts during my tenure here.
Well, thank you. And Ms. Nelson.
So I'm Valerie Nelson, and I have been at Warren Middle School actually for 24 years. This is my 24th year. If I did the math correct, I think I started in 1998. And I started out as an in-class support, and I worked with many different teachers and with many different students. But for the past 15 years, I've been working in the LLD program with basically one-on-one students.
Excellent. Thank you both. And staying with you, Ms. Nelson, why'd you go into education in the first place? And maybe specifically special education if you want.
Okay. Well, I actually, when I was in college, how I started out, I worked at a camp, and I realized how much I loved working with kids, and I loved doing the projects with them and coming up with activities. And I just had a great time. And I realized, you know what, I really think I need to go into education and work with children. And then going into special ed, I did have a family member that was ADD, and kind of watched the struggles with him. And I worked, would help him and stuff in school. And I realized, I want to go into special ed and kind of learn more about it, but also help out other kids. So.
Excellent. Thank you. And Mrs. Slack, how about you? Why'd you go into education?
So to start, I've always been a people person. I've always loved working with people, especially children and adolescents specifically. Throughout my part-time jobs growing up, I used to work at summer camps. I was a lifeguard instructor for the visually impaired for a while, and I used to help out at the summer school programs just as like an aide, helping when I was younger. But I also saw over the years the impact that my father, who's also an educator and a professor, had on his students year after year. But in addition to that, the career in teaching gave me an opportunity, but also a privilege to help impact the next generation. I feel that I give my students skills that will help them make decisions as they learn new topics for life learning.
And staying with you, Mrs. Slack, can you share an area of success that you've experienced with your students over the last couple of years? What makes you proudest of your work?
Oh, yes, definitely. Well, I would say I'm probably most proud of offering help to all children and any child that needs me. It happens even after school, at the end of the day, even with just assisting someone with a locker. But an area of success that I would say recently was teaching the writing process to my students. This process spans over about 5 to 6 week period. And I had the opportunity to really watch my students grow through the various steps, and ultimately they created an original narrative. And a second example that I wanted to point out is we did Readers Theater this year, and the students performed Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, and they each had to portray a various character. They did a fabulous job through their masks. You could see the smiling through their masks, through their eyes, but not only the job taken on their roles, but also utilizing the vocabulary that's known with that Victorian era.
Nice. And Ms. Nelson, how about you? Something that you're proud of from the last couple of years?
So I do have to say, I do love watching the kids when they are working on a project or they're working on a subject and they're starting to understand it and get it, and they get excited over that. And then the other thing is the lockers. When a lot of my students that I work with, sometimes it takes them months to learn how to open a locker. And when they finally do, the smiles on their faces, and then to realize that they can do it again, and they're like, oh, I've got this. I've absolutely got this. And I had one student that it took her a year to open it, but she finally did it. And to see the success over and over again, and the smiles that they had the independence of their own locker. So
that's funny. It's a couple of years ago, I had a focus group of 6th grade students throughout the year, and consistently opening their lockers was the biggest challenge of the transition to the middle school.
yeah, it is.
And maybe that's a good segue to the next question. I don't know, Ms. Nelson. So what is something that you think the general public should know about schools and education that maybe they're not really aware of?
So I had put down, and I had kind of struggled over this question, but I realized is that I always say that we wear different hats in this school. And I come in, and sometimes a child may come in and they're in a bad mood, or they are, just frustrated, or they can't, they're just not able to start the school day. And it takes time and patience. And then I realized is that sometimes you have to be the therapist, or you have to be the nurse, or you have to be somebody that is not just a teacher, and it's not always just about learning. And I think also working with other teachers and other paraprofessionals, there are a lot of personalities that you have to deal with on a daily basis. And it's not just coming into a classroom and sitting and learning the lesson. It's also dealing with lots of other people and what they bring to the classroom.
The ultimate people profession, right? Yeah, good thoughts. Ms. Slack, how about you? Something you think the general public?
My answer is going to sound very similar. And I think as teachers, you may find that this answer crosses very similar. But I feel as a teacher, I'm not just an educator, but I'm also a mother, a nurse, and a counselor to my students. And I do not just teach my subject area. I feel like we really are teaching that whole child, really, with what we're doing. I also feel that teachers, we're focusing on that student as a whole. It's not just the subject that we teach. And I think sometimes the public might think, oh, it's the math teacher is just doing math, or language arts, I'm just teaching language arts. Nope, we're teaching more than that. There's so much that goes into the school day that I feel as the teacher, I also am preparing students to hopefully live productive lives and to become not only a good citizen, but also a well-rounded individual. And I just think that one other thing to add that I hope the public can understand, that as teachers, we're constantly putting our students first. That we went into this profession because we love your children and we want what's best for them. And we're constantly working to hopefully help them succeed and reach the goals that they need to reach.
And this next question is probably like the other half of that same question, right?
Okay.
What do you hope, Ms. Slack, what do you hope your students remember about their time with you when they think back to middle school?
So, and I thought about this. I have a couple things for that. The one thing, I hope that they remember that education provides stability in life and that no one can take education away from you. I grew up in a household where, regardless of what I decided to do in my own career path, remember that education you'll always have, whether it's you decide after high school to go to college, or maybe you go to a vocational school, or you go right into the career force, you go into the military. Whatever education you're getting, it's yours for life. I also hope that my students know that I'm always putting their needs first, and that every day I try my best to provide for them both academically and emotionally. And I hope that when they do walk away, they look back and they remember me for my good heart, my kindness, my patience, and hopefully they'll say that I was a great teacher.
It's lovely. Thank you. And Ms. Nelson, how about you? What do you hope that students will remember from their time working with you?
A lot of similarities, but I do really hope that they know that I was always there for them, to support them, that I was kind, that I want them to know that there was always somebody on their side, and I would do anything for them.
Well, I'm sure, I mean, in both of your cases, the fact that there was such a strong support for your nominations says that you're having that impact, not just in hindsight, but right now for the students that you're working with. So again, congratulations. I know it's hard to make time for something like this at the end of one of many very busy and draining days that you're going through. So I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me. It's good to get to know a little bit more about your stories and continue to celebrate you throughout the rest of the year. So thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.